Hello everybody and welcome to RB&D Reviews. I am Rob.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to be doing a special video on movies where we're going to be comparing movies that have subtitles to films with dubbing. And one of the reasons why we're doing this movie is last weekend Will Ferrell released a Western comedy called Casa, Padre, where it's mostly subtitled in Spanish. And it didn't do very well at the box office. So I also read, Dave, comments on places like Beyond the Trailer. They did a review on it with Grace Randolph, and somebody says that they don't like movies with subtitles, which I think is a little, I wouldn't say disturbing, but a little bit saddening, because some foreign films are sometimes better than what Hollywood churns out.
Right, yeah, because they're able to show a lot more, and they're able to get away with showing a lot more because they're made in a foreign country where there's not rating laws and whatnot, and they can show like much more.
They're more artistic too, some of them. So so this is why we're going to be discussing it. So why don't we start with subtitled movies, Dave? Why do you think subtitles might be hard for some people, do you think?
Well, the problem I have with subtitles is I like them and all that. I like half the movies I watch are like foreign films with subtitles, but the one problem I have is sometimes I gotta like rewind it if I'm watching it on VHS, or I've gotta like go back if I'm watching it on DVD or Blu-ray, because sometimes they flash the subtitle words on the screen like way too fast, and they take them away way too fast, and I gotta go back and reread it again because I didn't catch it, because I'm kind of a slow reader. They mostly want you to be able to read them like real fast, and little do they know some people can't do that, you know.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think that's a very good point, because here's what I've said this to you before. I think movies, unless they're really bad, aren't meant to be seen just once. I mean, with a foreign film, you do have to watch it a couple times, because I think a reason is because it's hard to read and watch at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, what I do is if I'm renting a foreign film that's on DVD, the first time I'll watch it and I'll read the subtitles and catch a glimpse of the picture. Second time, I'll mostly watch the picture and I'll glimpse at the words and I'll remember what's been going on. So foreign films, I think, are probably better if you see it more than once. I know in a movie theater it's probably harder because you actually have to pay, to go into the theater, and you may not want to pay again. But if you go rent it on DVD, like from the library for free, it's a much better thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason. Another reason is I think people go to the movies to be entertained. They may not want to read, perhaps. They just want to sit back, relax, and be entertained and get shown visual stuff.
Right.
Because Casa de mi Padre, like I said, bombed. And another movie that's developing a good following is The Artist, but it's mostly with people that have appreciation for silent films. So it's got a smaller following, but you do have to read the title cards.
Yeah. I mean, another thing with these movies is, too, I think they've released a lot of them in the U.S. because it's like they're trying to push people to learn foreign languages, because I've actually learned, I watch a lot of the German ones, and I've actually learned like a heck of a lot of German watching these, and now I don't even have to read the subtitles. I already know what they're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and something that's been brought up, I saw this on a Casa de mi Padre board on IMDb. Why can't foreign films just be dubbed from a foreign language into English? And I don't think that works. Like, for example, here's a clip from Pan's Labyrinth where the little girl is talking to her unborn brother.
¿Por qué tenías que casarte? Estuvimos solas tanto tiempo. Yo estoy contigo. No estabas sola. Nunca has estado sola. Algún día entenderás que para mí tampoco ha sido fácil. Tu hermano está un poco inquieto. Anda, cuéntale uno de tus cuentos. Seguro que se calma y ves tú. Mi hermano.
Okay, Dave, in that clip, I think if somebody were to dub that into English, it just wouldn't be the same. I mean, that little girl is so perfect, even though you may not understand what she's saying, you can feel the emotion in her voice.
Right. Another problem they have when they dub these things over is the words don't catch up with the lips a lot of times, and it seems like every time I've watched one that's dubbed over, all the women sound like Miss Piggy, and all the men sound like Gomer Pyle, I'd say.
Gomer Pyle.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. And another problem they'll have is when they overdub and all that, they say like completely different English words than they did when they were speaking in in the foreign language.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with subtitles also. They'll put like really easy English words, and it's not even the words that they're saying.
Well, if people aren't used to subtitles, that's probably why they do it. The problem I have with dubbing is sometimes the actors that are chosen to do the English voices aren't necessarily the actors that you see on the picture, especially if they're foreign films. And sometimes what distracts me is the words don't match up to the sound because they're speaking a different language. I can think that's distracting. And sometimes the voices aren't as good as... they're not really good. For example, Dave, take this clip from Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace, where Christopher Lee plays Sherlock Holmes and he's talking to Professor Moriarty.
Tell the truth, Mr. Holmes. I didn't feel absolutely sure you'd acknowledge my invitation.
My dear Professor, how could I possibly forgo the, shall we say, pleasure of your company?
Feelings entirely mutual, dear Mr. Holmes. Frankly, I do regret you have such an opinion of me.
Oh, but I have nothing against you personally, Professor. On the contrary, the fertility of your imagination greatly impresses me. This afternoon, for instance, at Scotland Yard, a masterly performance. Masterly.
Now, Dave, you'll notice in that clip that was not Christopher Lee's voice.
Right.
You know, and the guy who played Professor Moriarty was a German actor, so he was speaking his lines in German. Thurley Walters, who played Dr. Watson in that movie, you know, said that the German actors would say their lines in Germans and the English actors and all that, and it's obvious that they don't always match up.
Right.
It can be a bit distracting, and the voices aren't really that good. There's a later scene where Sherlock Holmes is disguised as a sailor, and the guy doing his voice is terrible. It's laughably bad.
The bad thing is about it, there's these movies that are not supposed to be funny at all because they're supposed to be serious, and people are sitting there laughing their ass off about them because of the way they're talking and the way it's not catching up. They're horribly cheesy.
Yeah.
Like, for a good example is like the old Godzilla movies when they talk. I mean, those are just funny in general anyway. But, but with the words not catching up with the lips, and with all the women sounding like Miss Piggy and all the men sounding like Gomer Pyle, and then you got the lizard walking around and the guy's saying like "son of a bitch" in Gomer Pyle's voice, and it's like it's hilarious.
I know.
And it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, but I mean, Dave, there are some occasions where the dub voices work very well. Like, for example, here's a clip from Burn the Witch, where these two witch hunters are coming to take over the town.
I am albino. You wish to see me?
Christian von Meru, at your service. Sit down.
We have an official communication from His Highness. Read it. I can't read.
It's a proclamation about Lord Cumberland's arrival, sent here by your lord and master, the Prince, and entrusted with the difficult task of tracking down and punishing all the witches in the region.
I am the witch finder here.
You were to report to him upon his arrival.
I am the witch finder in this town. Is that clear?
Now, with this clip, Dave, even though those aren't the real actors' voices, they fit the characters perfectly, and what helped is, even though these were shot with German actors, they spoke English. Their lips are actually speaking English in the movie, so I think that might have helped, but I think it depends. Some movies, if they're dubbed right, you know, fine, but sometimes they're dead. I would, personally, I don't know about you, I'd rather see a movie with subtitles, and if I have to go back and rewatch it again, so be it, because I think you lose something when you dub them into another language, like from, let's say, German or Spanish to English.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, depending on what language it's in, I really don't even have to read the subtitles. If it's in German, I pretty much get what they're saying.
Yeah, because
especially if it's on the same topic that most of them are. Like if it's any World War II ones, I basically get what's going to go on anyway. So.
Yeah. With the silent era, Dave. You know, back in the old days, everybody could watch foreign films and they'd be able to put in title cards and translate, and it was easier. I mean, when sound came, before subtitles and before dubbing was done, that sometimes the actors would have to do the same film 3 or 4 times in different languages. Like Laurel and Hardy did films in English, and then they do a take in Spanish, then they do a take in German. On a blackboard, they would have the lines and they'd say them. I think that help them get an international audience. Yeah. Like I said, I'd rather see a subtitled movie, and I hope people give subtitled movies a chance more. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So.
Okay, well, that's our discussion on subtitled movies and dubbed movies of foreign language films, and we're going to open the floor to you. If you would like to add to the discussion, leave a comment. We greatly appreciate it.